Hello, hello. I wanted to do a little story time just to share how I got diagnosed with HCM because it's definitely not a typical diagnosis story. And it starts, unfortunately, has a really sad start. It starts with my little brother passing away at the age of 12. He went to baseball practice one day and was just warming up on the field and had a sudden cardiac event and dropped dead. There was no AED on the field, so we were unable to revive him, and he was basically dead on sight. My brother was 12, was the picture perfect of health. He was a travel hockey player, he was a travel baseball player, he was asymptomatic and showed absolutely zero signs of having heart disease. But we do have a family history of heart disease. My grandfather had HCM. He got it from his father. My uncle also has hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. When my mom was tested in her early 20s, she tested negative for it. Her measurements did not fall within the range of getting a diagnosis, so they kind of just dismissed her and was like, you should be good. Women don't carry the gene, so you're not going to pass it on to your children. Science has come a long way since then, so has genetics. That has since been proven wrong. My mom does carry the gene and she does have HCM herself. But when my little brother died, we have a very good family friend who is an EP doctor who really guided us through the process of figuring out like what happened, because 12-year-olds don't just drop dead. He basically told us that we needed to get genetic testing done, and we did. We isolated the mutation, the HCM mutation that we have, and tested our whole family. I have the gene, my sister has the gene, and my mother has the gene. We went through this process with the genetic counselor. If genetic testing is something that you are interested in, I highly recommend talking to your primary care doctor to refer you to a genetic counselor. You really should have somebody who knows what they're doing to explain and walk you through the process, because it is a very difficult thing to comprehend and internalize. My brother died when I was 14, and if you've ever lost somebody that close to you, you understand that it is incredibly difficult to navigate your life and rewire your brain. And on top of that, I had to have a defibrillator placed because I was at risk of having a sudden cardiac death, and I had to comprehend a disease that was normal to me but had just killed my brother. I didn't really internalize what it meant to have HCM. And not only that, like when I had my echoes and my MRI and my stress test and all of that, when I was getting diagnosed, I really didn't show signs of actually having HCM. Like I had the gene, but I didn't have any symptoms. Well, that's not true. I did show symptoms at that age. I hated running. Running was always extremely difficult for me, but like I kind of just thought like, oh, I have sports asthma, or like I'm just not a runner. And I was having arrhythmias that I didn't know were arrhythmias. I did have an ablation to get rid of those when I had my pacemaker put in, so that was great. But like I still didn't understand the severity of what was happening. It was difficult for me to navigate being in high school after my brother had just died, let alone have to navigate having a heart condition. So I really, honestly, looking back, I did ignore it. But like, to be fair, every year I would go to U of M, the University of Michigan, to have my heart testing done and to talk to my doctor, and I wasn't showing any signs of progression, so like I didn't think that I needed to worry about it. And it wasn't anything that like was at the forefront of my brain always. I was a cheerleader and I was very active, so like I didn't think that anything was wrong or anything would happen. I had a defibrillator placed, so like if I did have a sudden event like my brother, I would be taken care of. That was really my mindset until I was about 26. When I was, how old was I? When I was 22, I started having symptoms of endometriosis, and that took over my life. The pain that I feel when I have a flare-up is debilitating, and it consumed my life for years. Consumed my life to the point where when I was at my heart doctor, when I had like graduated from Mott and like moved to my adult specialist, I was in that office crying about my endometriosis after She had just done all my testing and my heart had thickened. That is how disassociated I was from my heart disease. I was so disassociated that like I didn't even realize I was having symptoms, because I was, and like I know that now. I have chest pain. I thought that it was anxiety, and I literally would tell my doctor like, oh, she would ask, oh, do you experience chest pain? And I'm like, yeah, but like it's just anxiety, because I do have anxiety and I do get chest pain from anxiety. I've had it my whole life, but now I'm able to discern whether it is I was just doing a lot of movement and my chest hurts versus I'm ruminating about something and something's weighing heavy on me. I also experienced really bad bloating, and once again, like I thought that this was just because of my endometriosis. Bloating is very complicated for me because one of the main symptoms for endometriosis is endobloating, and it literally, I will look like I am like 7 months pregnant when I have a flare-up because I have that much swelling in my abdomen. But I also was experiencing water retention that I didn't know I was having because that was also happening at the same time. I also retain water in my ankles, and like I thought that I just had cankles. That was not the case. I also get really short of breath very easily. I have always been a slow walker, but like I have trouble keeping pace with my boyfriend or my friends when I'm walking. And I thought that like it was just because like, oh, I'm out of shape. Like I go up 2 flights of stairs and like, oh, I'm winded. I need to hit the gym more. But that's not the case. That's my heart having a hard time. Then I failed my stress test. That was like a really oh moment. That was like, oh, okay. Another oh moment I had when I was like, oh, maybe I need to start paying attention to my heart health was when my BNP levels came back extremely elevated. And I didn't, like I got the results on my portal and I looked at them and I was like, looked at the normal range. Like the normal range was over here, my results were over here. And I was like, okay. Did a little bit more research and it was not good. Then a year later, I had another appointment and my echo didn't get any better. And my doctor basically told me like, listen, we need to start treating you because your heart is experiencing a lot of stress right now and we need to mitigate that. That was when she prescribed a low sodium diet, and she also told me that I need to stop drinking. She also stressed the importance of using my heart muscle and exercising. She also prescribed me Jardiance. That was last December. I had surgery for my endometriosis in February, and I didn't start taking my Jardiance until after my surgery because I would have had to, that was the plan of action. And with Jardiance, you have a risk of being in ketoacidosis. So I get my blood drawn every few months to make sure that like all of my levels are at in a good range. But being on Jardiance did not lower my BNP levels. They were actually going up. So I think it was like around June was when my doctor decided to prescribe me Lasix. Lasix is a diuretic. It basically is a medication that removes the excess water weight from my body. While that was all happening, my grandfather was also in the late stages of congestive heart failure from HCM. So I was in the middle of processing like, oh, I need to start paying attention to my heart health while watching what the end of congestive heart failure looks. I was getting a front row seat to what happens if I don't take care of my heart. It's not pretty. And it was really scary getting prescribed the same medications that my dying grandfather was prescribed at the end of his life. And for reference, my HCM has progressed further than my mother's. It was a lot for me to process. I'm still processing it. So when I say that I'm dying, it's because I feel like I am. I watched my grandfather not make the life changes and the lifestyle changes that he needed to prolong his life, because he could have had another 10, 15 years if he did what he was supposed to, and he just didn't. And I understand it because eating less than 2,000 milligrams of salt a day is incredibly difficult. It's hard to maintain this lifestyle, and for me it really does take embracing the fact that this will kill me if I don't do what I need to do. But I will say I feel so much better when I'm treating my body the way that it is meant to be treated. It's just a lot to manage because I also have migraines and I also have endometriosis. So like when I get a migraine, the last thing I want to do is make a low sodium meal. I want to order out food and lay on the couch. When I have an endo flare-up, I am debilitated. I can't get out of bed. I sometimes can't even move. My most severe flare-ups, I am on the bathroom floor vomiting for 2-3 days. And then for a week and a half after that, my body physically hurts to move. Exercising and making food really seems impossible when my body is in those states. But I keep moving forward and I do what I can when I can because I want to live. And I have let my chronic illness take my joy from me. I have let it suck the absolute life out of me into a deep, dark depression. And I don't want that anymore. I don't. And I'm choosing something better for myself. And just because I'm choosing it doesn't mean that it's easy. It is very, very difficult, especially when you have clinical depression and clinical anxiety. Your brain tells you things that are just not true. You have to actively overcome it. But I'm very, very... Hi. My boyfriend just walked in. I'm incredibly blessed to have a phenomenal support system and people who understand and give me grace when I need it. But yeah, that's basically it. Let me know if you have any questions. I probably forgot a lot, but that's just how it goes. I also have ADHD, so my brain just kind of goes where it goes. Please like and subscribe, and you can click the little bell so you're notified when I post a new video. And I would love for you to join the fun. We're just getting started and I can't wait to share more.